All right, get ready to dive deep today as we unpack some insightful stuff about diabetes management.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
We're going to be looking at this article from the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
It's called Diabetes Management: How Lifestyle, Daily Routine Affect Blood Sugar. And get this, we're going to uncover some surprising facts
Ooh, I love surprises.
about how, the little everyday choices we make,
Right.
can actually make a big impact on blood sugar.
Yeah, it's those seemingly small things that can really add up over time.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect.
Uh-huh.
One small choice leads to another, and then bam, your blood sugar's doing the cha-cha.
When you'd much rather have it waltzing.
Right. Exactly. So let's break it down, and start with food.
Okay, sure.
This article really emphasizes that it's not just about what you eat,
Right.
but it's also how much you eat and how those foods work together.
The article highlights two common approaches to meal planning, actually.
Oh, okay.
Carbohydrate counting and the plate method.
Okay, so carbohydrate counting, I'm guessing that's keeping track of your carb intake.
You got it. Especially crucial if you're on insulin,
Right. Yeah.
because it directly impacts your dosage.
So it's matching the insulin to the carbs, basically.
Exactly. Now, the plate method, this one's a little more visual.
Okay.
Imagine your standard 9-inch plate.
Okay.
Half of it non-starchy veggies. Broccoli, spinach, bell peppers, the drill.
We have those.
Then split the other half.
Okay.
One section for lean protein, like fish, chicken, beans.
All right.
And the last quarter, those healthy carbs.
Ooh. Give me some examples.
Fruits, brown rice, that kind of thing.
Okay. I can picture it. No, portion sizes. Sometimes I struggle with that, visually,
The article has some clever tricks, actually.
Very nice.
For reference, think everyday objects.
Okay.
A serving of meat or poultry, about the size of a deck of cards.
Oh, that's good. I always have cards.
Cheese portion, about 6 grapes.
Grapes. That's easy to remember.
And for cooked pasta or rice, your fist?
That's so smart. Okay, so those are some really good specific tips.
Yeah, I think so.
But what's the bigger message when it comes to food and blood sugar?
Balance and moderation, can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
The article points out that overdoing it with food sends your blood sugar soaring.
Right.
That's hyperglycemia.
And on the flip side, if you don't eat enough, your blood sugar plummets.
Exactly, especially if
Yeah.
you're taking insulin.
Right.
That's hypoglycemia, and it can be dangerous,
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
literally.
Okay, so we talked about food.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about exercise. The article says even light activities can be beneficial.
Oh, absolutely. Gardening, housework, it all counts.
Really?
When you're active, muscles use glucose for energy, which helps regulate blood sugar.
Okay, but how does that actually work? What's the science behind that?
Well, it's all about insulin sensitivity.
Okay.
Exercise makes your cells more responsive to insulin,
Right.
which is the hormone that helps move glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. So the more sensitive your cells are,
Mm-hmm.
the more efficiently they use glucose, preventing those spikes.
So basically, exercise helps our bodies make the most of insulin.
Exactly.
Now, the article also mentions blood sugar monitoring before, during, and after exercise.
That's crucial, especially if you're on medication.
Okay, why is that so important?
Both exercise and certain medications can lower blood sugar.
Uh-huh.
Combining them without monitoring could make it drop too low.
Right, and that's the hypoglycemia again?
Exactly.
So it's a balancing act.
It is. And if your blood sugar's low before a workout, grab a small snack.
Okay, what kind of snack?
Something with 15 to 30 grams of carbs.
Give me an example.
A handful of almonds, a small banana, that kind of thing.
Okay, so keep that blood sugar stable.
Exactly. And don't forget to stay hydrated.
Right, of course, dehydration can impact blood sugar too.
It all plays a role.
Okay, we've tackled food, exercise. What about medication?
Ah, yes. The article is very clear about the role of insulin and other medications.
Mm-hmm.
They lower blood sugar when diet and exercise alone aren't enough.
And they really emphasize proper insulin storage.
Absolutely.
And talking to your doctor about any concerns.
It's vital to keep those lines of communication open.
Right.
If you have any questions or notice your blood sugar dipping too low, reach out to your doctor.
Okay, so better to be safe than sorry.
Always. And this goes for any new medications you start taking, too, even over-the-counter ones.
Right, because those can interact with your diabetes meds, right?
Exactly. They could also impact your blood sugar levels
So always check with your doctor.
or your pharmacist.
Right, of course. Now, what about when we get sick? How does that affect our blood sugar?
Well, when you're ill, your body releases those stress hormones
Right.
to fight off the bug,
Yeah.
But those hormones can also raise your blood sugar.
Oh, wow. So it's like a double-edged sword.
Kinda. Plus, appetite and activity levels change when you're sick,
Yeah, that's true.
which throws another wrench in the blood sugar balance.
Right, right. So the article mentions having a sick day plan.
Yes, a roadmap for when you're under the weather.
Okay, what does that include?
How to adjust your medication.
Mm-hmm.
How often to check your blood sugar.
Okay.
What to eat and drink. And importantly, when to call your doctor.
When would you say you should definitely call your doctor?
If you have a fever over 101 degrees Fahrenheit,
Okay.
that lasts for 24 hours.
Got it.
Or if you experience persistent vomiting or diarrhea.
Right, those are all red flags.
Exactly. And in general, continue taking your diabetes medication unless your doctor says otherwise.
Okay, and food-wise?
Stick to your usual meal plan if possible.
Okay,
But if you're nauseous, opt for easy-to-digest foods.
makes sense. Okay, so we've covered food, exercise, medication, and illness. What else can impact blood sugar?
This one might surprise you.
Okay, hit me.
Alcohol.
Really? I wouldn't have thought that a glass of wine or a beer could be such a big deal.
It's how alcohol interacts with your liver. Usually your liver releases stored glucose to stabilize blood sugar.
Right.
But when you drink alcohol, your liver gets busy processing it.
Uh-huh.
And that can hinder its ability to regulate blood sugar effectively.
Oh, so it's like the liver gets distracted.
Exactly. And this can lead to dangerously low blood sugar.
Even hours after you finish drinking.
Sometimes, yes.
That's a little scary. So, should we just avoid alcohol completely?
The article strongly recommends talking to your healthcare provider first.
Okay, good advice.
They can assess your individual risk.
Right.
If they give you the green light, stick to the recommended limits.
And what are those limits?
1 drink per day for women, 2 for men.
Okay, so moderation is key.
As with most things in life.
That's true, that. But if you do choose to have a drink, any tips to minimize the risks?
Absolutely. Never drink on an empty stomach.
Okay.
Having some food slows down alcohol absorption.
Makes sense.
Choose lower calorie, lower carb drinks, light beers, dry wines.
Okay.
If you like mixed drinks, go for sugar-free mixers.
Got it. So smarter choices.
Exactly.
Anything else to keep in mind?
Oh, and factor those alcohol calories into your daily intake.
They can sneak up on you.
They really can.
Any other words of wisdom for those evenings when a glass of wine might be calling?
Always check your blood sugar before bed if you've had alcohol.
Okay.
And have a snack handy in case it's low.
Good to know. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about periods and menopause.
Okay, interesting.
How do those hormonal shifts impact blood sugar levels?
Well, during menstruation, hormone fluctuations can make blood sugar swing up and down.
Oh, wow, like a roller coaster.
Pretty much. So track your blood sugar readings throughout your cycle
Okay.
to identify patterns.
Right, so you can anticipate the fluctuation.
Precisely.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about menopause?
Menopause can definitely impact blood sugar too.
Okay.
It's a time of major hormonal changes, so talk to your healthcare provider
Okay.
about how often to monitor your blood sugar
Got it.
and if any adjustments to your diabetes management plan are needed.
Makes sense. Now, I'm also wondering, some of the symptoms of menopause and low blood sugar seem similar, right?
You're absolutely right. Sweating, mood changes, those can be common to both.
So how do you know what you're dealing with?
Check your blood sugar first
Okay.
before assuming it's menopause related.
That's a really important distinction.
It is.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about stress.
Uh-oh. Everyone's favorite topic.
Right? I think we can all relate to feeling overwhelmed and how it can impact our well-being.
It's a sneaky villain, that's for sure.
But I'm specifically curious about the connection between stress and blood sugar.
Well, when you're stressed, your body releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline.
Right, the fight or flight response.
Exactly.
But how do those affect blood sugar?
They can actually raise your blood sugar levels.
Oh, no. So, like, our body is working against us.
In a way, yes. Plus, stress can disrupt routines, making healthy habits harder.
Yeah, you're more likely to skip meals or exercise less when you're stressed.
Exactly. That's why the article emphasizes proactive stress management.
Okay, so how do we combat stress and keep our blood sugar in check?
Identify your stress triggers
Okay.
and find healthy coping mechanisms.
Give me some examples.
Deep breathing exercises,
Mhm.
meditation, yoga,
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing tasks, setting boundaries, learning to say no.
Right. And of course, exercise.
Always a good one. It's a fantastic stress reliever.
And it's good for blood sugar control.
Exactly.
A double win.
And it's important to remember that seeking professional help is okay.
Absolutely. A therapist can provide valuable support.
and teach coping skills tailored to your needs.
Exactly.
It's about equipping yourself with the right tools to manage stress effectively.
For both your mental and physical health.
I love that. We've covered so much ground already. It's incredible how many everyday factors can impact blood sugar levels.
It's all connected.
Before we continue, what stood out to you as particularly insightful from the article? What really struck me was that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to diabetes management.
Yeah, the article really emphasizes individualized care.
Exactly. Everyone's body is different.
Yeah.
Medication, exercise routines, even meal plans.
Right.
They all need to be tailored to your unique needs.
And that's where open communication with your healthcare provider is so crucial.
It's a collaboration.
Like a partnership, not a dictatorship.
Precisely.
You're working together to find the best path forward.
And it's not just about blindly following orders.
Right.
It's about understanding the why behind the recommendations.
I love that perspective. It's about taking ownership of your health.
Becoming an active participant in your diabetes management.
Yes. Okay, thinking back on all the information we've discussed, what resonated most with you? What's something you'll take away from this deep dive so far?
For me, it was the stress management section.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It's easy to underestimate the impact of stress on our bodies,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to blood sugar control.
I know, we often think of stress as just an emotional thing.
Right, but it has real physical consequences.
Absolutely. And I can personally attest to how stress can disrupt my routines and affect my blood sugar.
It's so common.
Yeah, it is.
We often prioritize everything else over our well-being.
It's true.
But taking care of ourselves, both mentally and physically, is essential.
Especially when managing a chronic condition like diabetes.
Exactly. And the article gave some great practical tips for managing stress.
I love those relaxation techniques they mentioned.
Me too. Deep breathing, prioritizing tasks, setting boundaries.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And let's not forget the power of exercise.
Yes. Stress reliever and blood sugar improver all in one.
The best of both worlds.
I'm definitely going to try to incorporate more stress-reducing activities into my routine.
I think we all should.
Okay, before we move on to part 2, anything else that really stuck with you from the article?
Yes, actually. There's this one thought-provoking question it raises that I think we should explore further.
Oh, what's that?
The connection between gut health and blood sugar control.
We haven't even touched on that.
It's a newer area of research, but really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's about the link between the trillions of bacteria in our gut.
The gut microbiome.
Yes, and how it affects our blood sugar levels.
Wow, that's something I never would have thought about.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. Okay, well, I'm definitely hooked. Let's dive into that in part 2.
Sounds like a plan.
For those of you listening, remember to consult with your healthcare team for personalized guidance.
They can help you create a plan that works best for you.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive. Stay tuned.
Can't wait. It's a complex relationship, but it's definitely worth exploring further.
Absolutely. It seems like there's always more to learn about diabetes management.
That's the beauty of science, isn't it? There's always something new to discover. And this connection between gut health and blood sugar is a prime example of that.
So before we dive into that, let's back up a bit. We touched on a lot of different aspects of diabetes management in the first part of our deep dive, but for you, what stood out as particularly important?
I think one of the most crucial takeaways from everything we've discussed is this emphasis on personalized care. The article repeatedly stresses the importance of consulting with your healthcare team, and it's a message worth repeating.
Yes. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, is it? What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. Everyone's body is different, and factors like medication, exercise routines, and even meal plans need to be tailored to individual needs and preferences. There's no magic formula that works for everyone.
That makes perfect sense. We're all unique individuals, and our diabetes management plans should reflect that.
And I think that's where the value of open communication with your healthcare provider really comes in. They can help you navigate the complexities of diabetes management, consider your individual circumstances, and empower you to make informed decisions about your care.
It's a collaboration, a partnership, not a one-way street.
Precisely. And it's not just about following orders blindly, it's about understanding the why behind the recommendations, which can make you feel more engaged and invested in your own health journey.
Yes, it's about taking ownership of your health, not just passively following instructions. Now, thinking back on all the information we've discussed, what resonated most with you? What really stuck with you? What really struck me was the section on stress management. It's so easy to underestimate the impact of stress on our bodies, especially when it comes to blood sugar control. We often think of stress as a purely emotional experience, but it has very real physiological consequences.
That's so true. We often push ourselves to the limit juggling, work, family, and everything else life throws at us. And while a little bit of stress can be motivating, prolonged or chronic stress can wreak havoc on our systems, including our blood sugar regulation.
And as someone who tends to be a bit of a stress head, I can definitely relate to how it can throw my routines out of whack and even affect my blood sugar levels.
It's something we all experience to varying degrees. But the good news is that there are things we can do to manage stress effectively. The article mentioned a few strategies, but are there any that you've personally found helpful in your own life?
Oh, definitely. Mindfulness and meditation have been game changers for me. Just taking a few minutes each day to focus on my breath and quiet my mind has made a huge difference in how I handle stress. And I've also found that regular exercise, even if it's just a brisk walk, helps me blow off steam and clear my head.
Those are fantastic strategies, and it's a great reminder that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for our overall well-being. When we prioritize our mental and emotional health, it has a ripple effect on other aspects of our lives, including our physical health.
I couldn't agree more. Now, before we get too sidetracked by our stress-busting techniques, you mentioned earlier that the article piqued your curiosity about the connection between gut health and blood sugar control. Can we dive into that a bit more? It's not something we typically think about when we talk about diabetes.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating area of research that's gaining more attention. Essentially, it boils down to this. The trillions of bacteria that live in our gut, collectively known as the gut microbiome, play a surprisingly significant role in regulating our blood sugar levels.
That's amazing. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think that these tiny microorganisms living inside us can have such a big impact on something as complex as blood sugar regulation.
It is, isn't it? But when you consider that these bacteria are essentially an extension of our digestive system, helping us break down food and extract nutrients, it starts to make a bit more sense.
Okay, that makes sense. But how exactly do these gut bacteria influence our blood sugar? What's the mechanism behind this connection?
Well, it's still an evolving area of research, but scientists are uncovering more and more about how these intricate interactions work. One of the key ways gut bacteria seem to influence blood sugar is through their role in insulin sensitivity.
So we're back to insulin sensitivity again. We talked earlier about how exercise can boost insulin sensitivity, making our cells more receptive to insulin. Are you saying that gut bacteria can do the same thing?
Exactly. There's growing evidence that a healthy, diverse gut microbiome can actually improve insulin sensitivity, meaning our cells are better able to use glucose for energy, preventing those blood sugar spikes.
That's incredible. So a healthy gut can potentially act like a natural blood sugar regulator.
That's the idea. And on the flip side, an imbalance in the gut microbiome, a condition known as dysbiosis, has been linked to insulin resistance and an increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
Wow, so it's not just about what we eat for blood sugar control, but also about nurturing the right balance of bacteria in our gut.
Precisely. It highlights the interconnectedness of our bodies and how everything is intertwined, and it really underscores the importance of taking a holistic approach to our health, considering all these different factors that contribute to our overall well-being.
I completely agree. And I'm curious, what can we do to promote a healthy gut microbiome? Is it as simple as eating yogurt or popping a probiotic supplement?
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than that. While certain probiotic supplements can be beneficial, the foundation of a healthy gut microbiome is a diverse, balanced diet.
So what kinds of foods should we be focusing on?
A diet rich in fiber is essential, as fiber acts as food for those beneficial gut bacteria. Think fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi are also great sources of probiotics, those live beneficial bacteria that can help populate your gut with the good guys.
Okay, so it's about nourishing our gut with the right foods to cultivate a thriving ecosystem of beneficial bacteria. It's like tending a garden, but instead of flowers and vegetables, we're growing a healthy microbiome.
I love that analogy. And just like a garden needs a variety of plants to thrive, our gut microbiome benefits from a diverse array of foods.
Makes sense, but I'm also wondering, beyond diet, are there any other lifestyle factors that can impact our gut health?
Absolutely. Stress, which we talked about earlier, can actually wreak havoc on your gut microbiome, disrupting the balance of bacteria and potentially contributing to inflammation.
So it's like a vicious cycle.
Hmm?
Stress can negatively impact our blood sugar and our gut health, which can then further impact our blood sugar control.
Unfortunately, that's often the case.
Yeah.
It highlights how important it is to address stress proactively using those techniques we discussed earlier.
Absolutely. Now, I'm also curious about the role of sleep. Does getting enough shut-eye affect our gut microbiome as well?
That's a great question. While more research is needed in this area, some studies suggest that chronic sleep deprivation can disrupt the balance of bacteria in our gut, potentially contributing to inflammation and other health issues.
It seems like everything is connected. Sleep, stress, diet, gut health, they all play a role in our overall well-being, including our blood sugar management.
Exactly. It's like a complex web with each element influencing the others. And the more we understand about these interconnected systems, the better equipped we are to make informed choices that support our health.
I couldn't agree more. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, is there anything else about the gut health connection that you'd like to highlight?
Yes, I think it's important to remember that research in this area is still relatively new, but it's incredibly promising. Scientists are uncovering more and more about the gut microbiome's role in a wide range of health conditions, including diabetes. While we don't have all the answers yet, the emerging evidence suggests that nurturing a healthy gut microbiome is a crucial piece of the diabetes management puzzle.
That's so exciting. It's like a whole new frontier in diabetes care, and I'm eager to see what further research reveals.
Me too. And I think it speaks to the importance of staying curious, informed, and open to new possibilities. The more we learn about our bodies, the more empowered we become to take charge of our health.
I love that. Now, before we move on to part 3 of our deep dive, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far. We explored a wide range of factors that can influence blood sugar levels, from the food we eat and the exercise we get to the medications we take and the stress we experience. And we've delved into the fascinating world of the gut microbiome and its potential role in diabetes management.
It's been a journey of discovery, and I hope our listeners are feeling empowered and inspired to take an active role in their diabetes care.
I agree. Now, for those of you joining us, stay tuned for part 3, where we'll continue our exploration of this insightful article from the Mayo Clinic. Welcome back to our deep dive. We're going to keep unpacking this diabetes management article from the Mayo Clinic.
It's packed with insights, that's for sure.
In the last part, we were talking about gut health and blood sugar.
Yeah, that gut microbiome connection.
It's so fascinating to think those tiny microorganisms can influence our metabolism.
Right, it's like a whole hidden world inside us.
So we talked about how a healthy gut microbiome can improve insulin sensitivity, right?
Exactly. It helps our cells use glucose more efficiently.
Which means fewer blood sugar spikes.
Exactly. It's like having a little helper keeping things in check.
I love that. So how can we nurture a healthy gut microbiome?
Well, we touched on diet already, but it's worth emphasizing again.
Okay, so remind us, what should we be eating?
Fiber is key. Think fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, all that good stuff.
Got it. Fiber feeds those good gut bacteria.
Exactly. It helps them thrive. And then there are fermented foods.
Oh yeah, like yogurt and kimchi.
Those are great sources of probiotics, those live beneficial bacteria that help populate your gut.
Like reinforcements for the gut army.
Exactly. So it's not just about eliminating the bad stuff, it's about adding in the good stuff too.
Creating a balanced, healthy gut microbiome.
Just like a garden needs a variety of plants to thrive.
Now I'm curious, beyond diet, what else impacts gut health? We talked about stress.
Stress is a big one. It disrupts the balance of bacteria in the gut and can lead to inflammation.
So managing stress is crucial.
Absolutely. Those techniques we discussed, like mindfulness and exercise, they help.
Okay, what about sleep? Does that play a role too?
You know, there's growing evidence that lack of sleep can negatively impact the gut microbiome.
Really?
So getting enough sleep is important for more than just feeling rested.
It seems like everything is connected.
It really is. Sleep, stress, diet, gut health, they all work together.
To influence our overall well-being.
And that includes our blood sugar control.
So to wrap things up, it sounds like research on the gut microbiome is still evolving.
It is, but it's super promising.
And as scientists learn more,
We'll discover even more ways to leverage its power to improve our health.
that's exciting. It feels like we're at the forefront of something big here.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to take charge of their health.
Me too. Knowledge is power, after all.
Absolutely. And remember, this deep dive is just the beginning.
Right, it's a starting point.
Consult with your healthcare team.
They can help you create a personalized plan.
That works for your unique needs.
All right, That's a wrap on this episode.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay well.